Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a fresh threat to Iran: accept a deal quickly, or U.S. will destroy its key oil export hub of Kharg Island, as well as its power and water plants. Well, Trump's latest warning came even as he claimed diplomatic progress in ending the month-long war. Well, Trump warned that if a deal were not struck quickly, U.S. forces would destroy, and I'm quoting here, all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Kharg Island, and possibly all desalination plants, which, according to him, have purposefully not yet touched. Well, Trump has claimed that the United States is speaking to a more reasonable regime in Tehran and has sent a 15-point proposal to end the war. But Iran says U.S. president is lying about negotiations while readying a ground invasion. It says there has been no negotiations with U.S. in these 31 days of war. Tehran says it has received a negotiation request, adding that most American demands are unrealistic and excessive.
The materials that have been conveyed to us under various titles, such as the 15-point plan, mainly include very excessive, unrealistic, and unreasonable demands. The meeting that Pakistan held with its neighboring countries is a framework that they established themselves. We did not participate in this framework.
Meanwhile, Iranian Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf, the man named by Trump as one he is talking to, has hit back at the U.S. president. He claims that the U.S. is promoting its desire as news while threatening Iran at the same time. He warned it was a big mistake. Now, showing it will not back down, Iranian Parliament Committee voted to impose tolls on vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, the passageway through which 1/5 of global oil passes. State television said Iran would forbid vessels related to U.S. and Israel. On the other hand, White House has repeated the administration's insistence that the war against Iran should be over within another 2 weeks. Asked whether Trump's threat to devastate Iranian civilian infrastructure would not risk committing war crimes, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the U.S. armed forces would always act within the law.
Or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination, and the president is not afraid to use them. That's not what I said, Garrett. And you're saying the word potential for a reason, because I'm sure some experts are telling you that in your ear to try to ask me that question. Of course, this administration and the United States Armed Forces will always act within the confines of the law. But with respect to achieving the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump is going to move forward unabated, and he expects the Iranian regime to make a deal with the administration.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump's partner in attacking Iran, said more than half of his military aims had been achieved. But he also refused to put a timeline on the operation that has ignited a regional war and sent global oil prices soaring. All right, well, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tarani sent us this report. Let's listen to it.
President Trump and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt both say the talks with Iran are still progressing behind the scenes, but any commitment from Tehran would have to be verified, and both warned that there would be consequences if Iran fails to follow through. Economically, the war is rattling markets. Oil prices have surged above roughly $116 a barrel, raising concern about inflation and energy costs, while global stocks have been volatile as investors react to the risk of a wider regional conflict. For now, the U.S. appears to be balancing continued military pressure with a push for a negotiated end to the fighting as the number of U.S. troops in the region continues to increase. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.